Well, hey, everybody, welcome back to the Dr. Jockers Functional Nutrition Podcast. And today we are going to talk about mindset, breaking through limiting beliefs, really rising to another level in your life, and also incorporating some of the best superfood nutrients. You know, I've got to talk about superfoods. So we're going to talk about that as well. My guest is Danette May. Many of you guys probably know her or have heard of her. She is a founder of Mindful Health LLC and the Rise Movement. She is a world-renowned motivational speaker, author of a fantastic book called The Rise, An Unforgettable Journey of Self-Love, Forgiveness, and Transformation. She is a former celebrity fitness trainer, and her work has been seen all over various popular media, and she has millions of followers on her social media channels. She also developed the Whole You Healing Detox program, along with a number of other great online programs. And she developed a powerful nutrition product called Cacao Bliss. This is something I absolutely love. It is a great raw chocolate powder that contains 7 superfoods to put you in a state of bliss. That's why it's called Cacao Bliss. So, Danette, thanks for joining us here on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, absolutely. Well, you know, in your book, you'd go all through your story, and I would love for our listeners to really know more about you and what inspired you to write your book.
Oh, wow. Well, that's a big question, but I always kind of start this question with that we're all given these moments in our lives, which I call refiner's fires. And this is where we're truly molded and really burning away the things that are really not us and the things that are not serving us, these stories, these belief systems that we've taken on. And for me, of course, I had my refiner's fire, just like all of us will have or have already have or will be having multiple. And I had lost my son. And I went through this really deep depression once I lost him, and then found myself unraveling in these stories in my relationship at the time, and went through a really terrible divorce. I don't know if there's a lot of really great divorces, but yeah. I just found myself in a really interesting place where I had always been studying about nutrition, and I was a trainer at the time, but here I was, broke as a joke. I was a single mom, $47 to my name. That's a whole story inside the book, and I won't go into it. You'll have to get the book to read that, how I got there. And literally was battling this unknown feeling of depression after losing my son. And in this rock bottom for me, in this refiner's fire, I really started unlayering the stories that I had built up around myself. I started to really play with the power of superfoods to get myself out of this depression, out of this brain fog, just so I could show up for the 2 daughters I did have. And, you know, that really was the turning point for me for what I do today. And that's where the 3 pillars came from. And I knew that I couldn't be the only one who was dealing with these types of events in their lives, and that these things like healing movement and mindset and healing foods were really the pillars and the catalyst for my ultimate growth to who I am today. And it's what I stand on, and it's what I try to teach others, because I know that we all are going to have our fires. We're all going to have our moments. And if we can just really be our greatest friends and our greatest advocates and do these 3 pillars, we can change our lives.
Yeah, that's powerful. And so you said the 3 pillars are what? Mindset,
movement, and movement.
Food and movement. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, those are all 3 things that, if we can anchor in, will definitely make a dramatic impact on our life. And so you created this Rise movement to go along with your book. And let's talk about that and what you've seen come out of that.
Yeah, well, when I started my business originally, it was primarily for women. And for me, what I was recognizing working and inspiring millions of women is that women were the most untapped resource humanity has, in my opinion. And if we can wake women up to their power, to their remembrance, to their knowing, then we can literally shift the trajectory of this planet in the direction we're going. And so it's been this huge mission of mine to really create this Rise movement, which was all about rising within, because you got to go inward first and rise within yourself, and then you rise up. and come together in unity. And I knew women at the time were coming together in this conversation of maybe anger and maybe like, oh, my rights are not being met, and mad at men and mad at all these things. And I was like, can we come together in a different conversation? Because it's really about us going inward and us loving ourselves and us being our greatest advocate, not separating ourselves from anything outside of ourselves. And so that's where the Rise movement came from. And it's been an awesome journey. And I think, the Rise movement is based off those pillars as well, but it's that deep inner rise that we all need to take, men or women.
For sure. I love that. It reminds me of a book I read years ago called Power versus Force. I don't know if you read that, but it talked about how power.
That sounds awesome though.
Yeah. Like force would be like anger. It's something that we're trying to manipulate our circumstances, whereas power comes from real internal, like a deep love and respect for yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's where real power comes from. And so it sounds a lot like that. And power is way more, exponentially more powerful, than force will ever be. And so,
Wow, that's so good. I love that.
Let's talk about limiting beliefs, some limiting beliefs that you had in your life and what you're seeing with the people that you've coached and people that follow you on social media, and strategies they can use to help break through those.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in looking at our beliefs and the stories we're telling ourselves. And this is not something that I don't actually believe we all just arrive at. I think it's an endless journey, and it's a journey to take every single day. And for me, this has made all the difference in who people see as Danette May. It's changed the way I look. It's changed my health. It's changed my relationships. It's changed my financial, the way I stand in my purpose every day. And it's really, first off, understanding that we were all born like with this incredible, like, I love the word that you said, power, this incredible power, all of this coursing through our DNA, all the remembrance of past ancestors, and anyone that we actually look at outside ourselves that we think are amazing is coursing in our DNA, and we're all connected. And then we pile on these stories that come from our families, that come from our religion, that comes from our community. And our job is really to unlayer those stories, those beliefs, what we call beliefs. This is what I am. Is it really what you are? And get to the truth of who you are. And that's ultimate power, right? That's ultimate significance and love and compassion. And so getting back to that essence has been a journey that I think has made all the difference in my world and all the difference in anyone who's taken up any of my programs. And to answer your question on how do you even go there, because we understand this. I think all of us kind of understand, man, I'm really hard on myself. I hear my negative self-talk. And when I was diving into this research, there was a study they hooked all these different women in particular, and I imagine men are the same, but women were quite significant in the way they battered themselves inside their minds, and they hooked them up, and they found that they had 50,000 negative thoughts a day.
Wow.
That more than 50% of these women that they were testing, that's a lot of negative thoughts. I mean, that kind of blew my mind. I almost thought it was a little extreme. I was like, where are these these testing results, But if you really think about the constant thoughts that are going all day long, how many of them are really positive in your favor? And really being aware that you are the storyteller and you are the story. So what story are you going to create? And so becoming aware is the first step. And then the second step is every day I'm writing my story. I'm writing what I believe, what I'm trying to unlayer, what I truly believe about myself. And I'm trying to create a beautiful story, right? Because we can choose heaven or hell, truly. So those are the two steps that I think are the most simplest. We can go deeper down the rabbit hole of like meditation and foods, because all of that will actually act as an ally to help you on this journey of unraveling the stories as well as creating beautiful stories for yourself. But every day in the morning, I'm always saying affirmations. Even just this morning when I sat in my meditation, and my meditations look different every day. This one in particular, I was just constantly repeating I ams for a good 15 minutes, and I am of whatever, and just filling myself up with that first thing before I talk to anyone in the morning.
That's a great morning practice right there. And let's talk about when you were at your lowest point. Where did you start? How did you start your rise?
Yeah, I love that you're asking this because it's like, oh, I just overnight did this, because you have to understand that it's in our rock bottom that's our greatest gift, because we only have one direction, and that's up.
Mhm.
And so in my rock bottom, I remember, if I were to go back into that scene, I had sold everything in my home. I was raising these two girls by myself. I was sleeping on the floor on a mattress, but it wasn't just any mattress. It was my a mattress that my parents had given me, that they had probably conceived me on. It was disgusting. And I had a twin sheet, like trying to cover it, because I didn't even have a full sheet, which is just insane to me to think about right now. So I was always looking at that mattress. We had tinfoil holding up an antenna so I could get Curious George and the big red dog for my younger daughter, so that I could get some type of work or some alone time. And I remember just being in this really low moment and going, I have isolated myself. I'm a financial ruin. I'm a terrible mom. How did I even get to this situation? And I literally picked up what I had, which was a phone. I was borrowing Wi-Fi through the wall from my neighbor because I couldn't even afford Wi-Fi. And I looked up motivation. And of course, if you just Google motivation, you're going to get a whole host of people. And I remember watching a few of them, and they had this common denominator to them, and that was saying I am statements, and really looking at all the limiting stories and beliefs you have about yourself, and writing them down, and then writing the opposite on the other side. And I literally wrote a page and a half. I still have that page and a half of all the stories that I was saying to myself, those 50,000 words that all of us tend to do, or maybe it's 15,000, it doesn't even matter. That's a lot. And then wrote down the opposite. So if I was like, I'm a terrible mom, or I'm a financial ruin, I was writing, I am a financial success. I'm a wonderful mother. I'm a powerful woman, and I was writing all that down. And then I made a commitment to myself that when I was in that negative spiral, which this is the hardest time, because we all know when we're in that negative spiral, whether we call it depression or anxiety, or just going down the rabbit hole of just being negative and spiraling, it's hard to go, oh, I'm going to eat well, or I'm going to be positive right now, or I'm going to do my affirmations right now, or I'm going to meditate. It takes massive discipline, and it takes radical responsibility. And I got committed to myself in that moment that if every one of these leaders and these inspiring people that I aspire to are doing this, then why not me? And so I said, if every time I start to spiral, which at the beginning, I'm telling you, some days were like every 15 minutes, I was noticing a negative thought. I got so radical, I took out my list and I read it. And over time, it felt like a little lie. It kind of didn't feel true. It didn't really ring. But I noticed little by little, as I got radical and reading that and choosing the opposite of me spiraling, I was starting to notice these subtle shifts happening over and over time. And it wasn't like it happened overnight. It was just subtly. And that's what I try to tell people, is that it does happen, and it will happen for you. You just have to be committed to the work, whether you see results or not immediately.
Yeah, just like anything else, you're not going to lose 10 pounds overnight, or, change your skin complexion or anything like that. I mean, it all takes time. It takes consistent output. And that's really where a lot of people fall, is that they try it. And I think a lot of it also has to do with the amount of the consistency, but also there's that law that, an object in motion remains in motion unless acted upon by equal or opposite force, right? So if you're spiraling in one direction, all your lifestyle is negative, all your thoughts are negative, you need to start somewhere, but then you also need to really start building an opposite force, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I think a lot of them, did you use emotion? I know a lot of people will do declarations. When did that start? Was that immediately, or did you start doing that later as you built momentum?
Well, I was going to say, for me, I think everyone listening can probably attest to this. Before you decide you're going to work out, you're never really feeling like you want to work out, right? But no one ever gets done with the workout and goes, I feel like crap, or I wish I wouldn't have done that. You feel kind of like being proud of yourself. You're tired, but there's this energy, there's this currency that's going on inside your system. And I realize now, in hindsight, that what I was doing was when I would work out, right after or during, like I'd go running and I would say it out loud because I'd be running up in the mountains or away from people. So I wouldn't necessarily do it around someone, but I would start declaring it. And there's an energy that's already happening in your system and your cells when you're moving your body. So harness that. And people talk about it doing after orgasm, right? Like there's all these different points, or when you're in extreme joy, say like you're hanging out with your favorite people, doing your favorite thing, like truly at that time, like when I'm doing that with my circle of friends now, and now I'm not even shy, I'm like, let's pour into each other, because there's a harness that happens and you're accelerating your results. Because when you're in that state, in that vibration of joy, and you can actually declare it at that time, it's like a speed dial.
Yeah, exactly. Get that emotion up. I know for me, exercise always really helped with that. Mm-hmm. Just getting this energy going and then using that as momentum and as fuel.
Totally.
So yeah, let's talk about how you became a celebrity fitness trainer. What was that road look like?
Well, that was actually before I lost my son.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I was working for the largest fitness distributor. I was actually their main like creator of fitness equipment. And what led me to working with a lot of these celebrities and going, okay, let me train your body. Let me see what would be a physical attribute of what we could create with our engineers that would actually create more results. And it started off that. And that actually was such a beautiful time for me, because I was recognizing I was making millions of dollars for another corporation. And I was like, man, I have this gift. Why can't I see this gift in myself, but everyone else can see this gift in me? And I remember I was going to pull away from that job because it was just taking me away from my young child at the time. And they were like, oh, we'll buy you a house. We'll give you. And I was like, wow, this is fascinating. Why do I not believe in myself as much as they do? And I need to break off. And of course, then I went through all my crazy stuff right after that. But I held on to that. And I held on to this, like, what's within me that I'm just not seeing that I could create on my own, that I'm not creating for another corporation or another company. I'm doing it for myself and in the way I want to do it. And that was such a beautiful time, because that's when I held on to that for after I really worked on my inner story, and then I created my own business.
Well, that's great. I mean, you have to have some sort of an anchor that really helps. Some sort of accomplishment or achievement that you've had in the past really helps, because you can think back to that.
Yeah.
I think that really helps with the journey. Now, you also created a detox. I was looking at your website there, the Whole You Healing Detox. Can you explain more about that?
Yeah, well, I am a big lover. I'm like a geek on superfoods. Like my nighttime reading is all about superfoods or biohacking the body. Like I've never been that girl to read romance novels. Not that anything's wrong with them, but I just recognized that there was always something in me I've been so fascinated by foods, and like ancient foods and not just like new foods that are being created, but ancient foods. And what did healers in these indigenous tribes use for ultimate healing for the people back then, right? And like, what could we take to our modern living? And so the Whole You Healing Detox really came from this idea of taking real foods, understanding, because at the time, people were like drinking water, doing grapefruit juice and adding cayenne, and I was like, there's something missing here. It's like almost like we're trying to punish ourselves into health. And I'm like, it's not really meant to be that way. It's meant to be loving and healing. And if you can harness the loving power of foods, and you can be loving with yourself, because I don't actually believe a detox is just foods either. It's the way, the thoughts you're saying to yourself, the visualization. So I include all of that inside my program. Mindset piece and like audios that you can listen to are a part of every one of my programs. And then taking all these foods that you can actually go buy. It's not like you have to buy this pill from me or do this. It's like, take these healing foods, blend them up. Some of them you actually can chew, because I realize that it's actually for some people just drinking things. Yes, it's easier on the digestion, but can I have them make something kind of midway through that actually gives them a little sustenance? They taste it. They really appreciate that feeling. So they're going back into the remembrance of appreciation, pleasure, and ultimate healing foods. So it's a whole combination of movement and mindset and foods.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. Yeah, when we chew, we actually release endorphins, dopamine, all these feel-good neurotransmitters in our brains. We feel good. It's, we naturally have kind of this built-in mechanism that makes us want to desire to eat and to enjoy it, right? And so I think, obviously having that And being able to enjoy that can be a really healthy part of a detox as well.
Totally.
And combining it with the liquid nutrition, because liquid nutrition, the blender's already done the job of the digestive tract. So it takes stress off the body, which therefore allows you to assimilate those nutrients, but you actually use a lot less energy in order to break it down. So you have energy diverting into other areas and helping heal and clean your body up. So that's powerful.
I love how you're saying all this. Like, it's perfect because it's like taking a lot of like what I feel, but putting it in a really like practical, scientific way, which is so beautiful for people to understand. This is why we do what we do, you know?
That's beautiful. Right. Absolutely. And you made this great product called Cacao Bliss. Let's talk about that.
Well, it's not so secret anymore, but like I mentioned, I'd always had this fascination with indigenous tribes. And then I started dreaming about being invited to sit in these sacred circles that no one gets invited into. And so I would literally manifest this. I would call it in meditation. And I started finding myself going around the world and getting invited into these places no blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl gets invited into. And in particular was one ceremony where I was sitting with these healers in a circle and they were passing out these like little ceremonial mugs, and like I remember drinking it and it was super delicious, and we went into this meditation in this intention setting, and I came home and the intention that I had set in that circle came to pass after 7 days like they said it would, and it started leading me on this idea of what is these cacao ceremonies. And I know they're kind of popping up in the US and different places, but in the indigenous way, they literally would take raw cacao, and raw cacao back in the Mayan time was more revered than gold. I mean, it was the healing property, and now we know scientifically why, but they would take cacao, and then it wasn't like they would just drink raw, bitter cacao. They would take the honey from the bees and put it in. If they had turmeric, they'd put it in. And down in like the Azteca area and Peruvian area, they'd put lucuma and a little bit of mesquite for energy. And then they would use it to do their mountain climbing and all their work throughout the day. But then they also used it as ceremony. And I was fascinated by the way I felt. I was fascinated with this ceremony. And then just the idea of ceremony, right? How often do we just like send intention to these sacred foods that are blessing our lives and using it and harnessing it to attract and to become this magnet for bliss in our lives and abundance in our lives? And so that's where Cacao Bliss was born from. As I started playing around with it in my kitchen. I was like, okay, I've got raw cacao, and I was adding lucuma, mesquite, turmeric, and then I'd throw MCT in there. And then, I was like wanting it to be low sugar, and I would do raw honey, but then, I realized diabetics couldn't always do it. So I was just playing with it, and then I was giving it out to my community, the exact formula, and people were writing in like depression's gone. Of course I can't say those claims, but people were going, I'm amazed at how I feel. I was amazed at how I was feeling. And I just went to my team and I was like, it is time. Like every time I would go hiking, it was like, you need to bring this to the world. Like, this is what's going to help people tap into their bliss. Because I'll just share with you guys really quick, because I'm such a nerd about this, like raw cacao. So why I'm so passionate about this is there's only 2 foods in the world that contain this chemical called anandamide, and raw cacao is one of them. And anandamide is so potent. It's like this bliss molecule, they call it, but it creates the same euphoria inside the body as if you were making love, or if you were experiencing the most extreme joy. And when I say making love, it's like with somebody you deeply love, right? Like there's this deep sense of euphoria, which we know that frequency of love in your heart is the ultimate attractor of everything. So I was so fascinated by this anandamide that we could consume if we had raw, and then ideally ceremonial grade cacao. And ceremonial grade meaning the sun actually heats it up. They don't put it in a manufacturing plant and let that slowly heat up the cacao pod and the cacao powder. So anyway, that's why I'm so in love with it. And it contains theobromine, which gives you the perfect amount of energy and blood flow through your brain so that you can think. I write so much stuff on this on this product. And so anyway, it's just a big, huge passion of mine. And I'm super called to just bring it to the world.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And for those of you guys that maybe cacao is the first time you've heard that, it's actually raw chocolate. So it's unprocessed chocolate, all of us have experienced bliss at some point, eating some piece of chocolate, whether it was healthy or not. But you can actually do it. That cacao has tremendous health benefits, like she's saying, when it's not processed and it's not high in sugar or dairy or other possible anti-nutrients. And so you've got it flavored with monk fruit, which is an all-natural sweetener, doesn't impact your blood sugar. And you've got things like cinnamon in there, turmeric, which have powerful anti-inflammatory benefits and also help modulate your blood sugar and improve your insulin sensitivity. So it helps keep your blood sugar stable. That's really important to feeling bliss. When your blood sugar is going up and down, you're going to feel irritable. You're going to feel hungry. You're going to feel tired, fatigued. And so getting your cacao in a form that is not going to throw off your blood sugar, very, very important. And you also want those anti-inflammatory compounds like turmeric and cinnamon and different things like that, because they're going to help reduce inflammation throughout your body. When your body's really inflamed, it's going to take you out of bliss. So yeah, very important. And then cacao also has a lot of polyphenols like EGCG. Actually, we think about green tea as being the best source of these catechins, but actually raw chocolate or cacao is actually a better source of that.
Isn't that amazing? And it tastes delicious. That's what's so, and I think people don't realize that. Like if they go to the store, they look and see cocoa powder, and right, cocoa powder is quite bitter. Mm-hmm. It's not the same thing as raw cacao because it's been stripped of 300 phytonutrients and all the polyphenols, anandamide. You're not getting it if you're not having it in that raw form, which has, like you said, it's like even higher doses of all these nutrients than a lot of these products that we think are amazing, like green tea and berries and all those things.
Absolutely. And what are your favorite ways to use it?
Well, I mean, in our family, which we joke, the good thing I created this because we go through like a bag a week. So for my kids, every morning they drink it. They drink it as like a hot chocolate, just like they would have back in the day. Like we add a little bit of nut milk to it. They add a little more nut milk than water because they like it extra creamy. And so they do it as a hot chocolate in the morning. It helps with their thinking for school. And then after school, because it calms them, right? Like, so it's really helps you tap into your heart. If you've had a rough day or you just want to get connected to yourself, it's a great way to do that. And then this is one of my favorite ways is I take it and I like adding a little cayenne. Now, I left it out of the formula because not everybody's a big lover of it, and all you need is a little dash of cayenne. I throw some nutmeg in there, and obviously collagen, and I blend it all up like a hot chocolate, and I drink that most every day, if not twice a day. And then, of course, you can throw it in your smoothies, and I love making these peanut butter cups with it. So they're non-bake. I can just do some raw cacao at the bottom. I put some almond butter or peanut butter in the middle and then top it and put it in the freezer. And then I have like this delicious, healthy like dessert every single day.
I mean, who would want that? Some good chocolate, fat-burning dessert. Love it. Yeah. Love it. Well, let's talk about some of your other favorite foods, kind of like what a daily routine looks like for you.
Yeah. So you want me to talk about the foods or like my routine?
Let's start with your routine.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a big person on routine, but at the same time, not getting so, I can't remember what someone called it, something like you're doing too many rituals. Like you're forgetting to be present to what's ever coming. So I'm about doing rituals and routine, but then breaking them every so often, right? Like getting out of it and really seeing the world in a different way. But I wake up before everyone else. My favorite thing to do is wake up to watch the sunrise. I'm lucky enough to live on a mountain where I can see the sunrise. And to me, that's like heaven time. Like I just get excited to be able to be coming down in the dark and then watch the sun come up. And I start off my morning with lemon water. So that's what I start off with is fresh lemon water. Most days there are times when I haven't, if I'm traveling or just haven't gotten it, but most days is hot lemon water. And then I always just sit and watch the sunrise in the silence. I sometimes sit outside to do it or I'll stay inside. And then I always write down in my journal, and this has been a huge practice for me that's taken the business to crazy heights, to my relationships to crazy heights, but I commune with my soul. And so I take out a journal and I write, what would you have me know? And I write whatever comes up, like even if it sounds like nonsense, even if it sounds kind of weird, I write whatever comes up. And then I obviously spend time in gratitude or meditation. After that, usually I make a Cacao Bliss, or I'll add it into coffee if I really need to like really get after it. But I don't do that anymore because I'm super sensitive. But a lot of people love Cacao Bliss in their coffee. My husband does that every single day, and I'm like, I would fly through the roof. But so if I want to like crush a workout, I'll do that. Yeah. But and then typically I like to work out first thing in the morning. But before I do that, I get out in nature always, like a little hike or something. But yeah, that's my morning routine anyway.
Well, what do you like to do for working out?
Oh, I love everything. I like to change it up. So I love everything outdoors. So I like mountain biking. I like mountain running. Yesterday I went mountain running. This morning I went mountain hiking. So I like to do that, but then I try to combine it with some type of HIIT or body workout, maybe incorporate a few weights, but I really like try not to do too heavy of weights. For me, it's all about longevity, structure, making sure that I can just do any activity I want to do and be able to thrive at it. So it might be like some type of HIIT workout. Sometimes it's Pilates, sometimes it's just stretching, but it's always something in nature, always. It's my favorite way, whether it's skiing or biking, like I said, or something like that.
That's cool. So you're not really lifting weights. You're more so doing a lot of things outside, calisthenic type work.
Yeah, if I come into the gym, it'll be more like jump squats. If I do a weight, I'll just add a little bit of weight too. And I do high repetition. So it's more of that fat burning type circuit.
Endurance. Yeah. Good. So then, so we talked about your morning routine. Then what does the rest of the day look like?
It's grind. It's like you get into business mode. And so I always take care of myself first. And then I go into business mode. And thankfully I love what I do, but it's like some of the times that's not what I love to do, but it's got to get done. And it's work. And then in the evening, it's time with family. I don't know if people know this, and I don't know. I think as we start to evolve as humans, we start to realize that we don't need that big of a circle. And so I don't actually spend a lot of time outside of a really intimate circle. And so it leaves me with a lot of time to just be with family, to be back out in nature again. And so it's usually just family time and nature time again. And just I go to bed quite early, about 9:30, and that I'm pretty like boring to other people, but I love this way of being.
That's so good. We're very similar in that way. I have a very small circle and spend a lot of time with my family and just my very, very close friends. So yeah. I'm the early bird, and my wife, though, she keeps me up a little bit. She likes to stay up a little bit later, sleep in, right? So we kind of balance each other in that way. Let's talk about your favorite foods, what you like to eat throughout the day. And do you do intermittent fasting at all? Do you do 3 meals a day? Do you snack? Let's talk about your normal routine there.
This girl likes to eat, and trust me, like I study all about intermittent fasting. I know all the benefits. My husband does it, and I do not. I do not. I love to eat, and I noticed that for my body, it does really well with small meals throughout the day. And so I know for others, that's not an awesome rhythm because they feel like they're constantly eating. I love constantly eating, and I'm constantly eating. So it's like little things. So for this morning, for example, I've already had Cacao Bliss hot chocolate, superfood one with the cayenne and the nutmeg and the collagen. And then I made a big green smoothie. So I love just like throwing all the amazing superfoods in a blender, like spirulina and whatever I can find. And sometimes it's chocolate and sometimes it's fruit based, and all the greens. So I had that. And then this afternoon, I'll be munching on hummus and different fresh veggies that I've cut up, and just kind of keep it kind of light throughout the day because that smoothie was quite full. But I seriously am hungry again. So I just keep eating. And I make these protein balls out of peanut butter and chia seeds and all these superfoods, and I will eat a few of those. And then dinner time will usually be some type of protein, roasted veggies, maybe some type of carb, a lot of sweet potatoes. Love those. So yeah, that's kind of what we do.
Love it. What are your top 5 favorite foods? Like, let's say you were stranded on an island. You could only have 5 foods. What would they be?
Well, I'm going to go to the practical side of me. One would be dark chocolate for
Mhm.
sure, because I've got to have pleasure. So dark chocolate,
You
it
can
would
bring a
be,
bag of Cacao Bliss with you.
yeah, totally, totally. Chia seeds. I feel like chia seeds, if I were to need to be somewhere stranded, like chia seeds have so many components to them to sustain you. So I would do chia seeds for sure. Probably coconut oil to add my good fats, or avocados.
Mhm.
That's a good toss up. Like me and myself, an avocado a day. Sometimes I just eat an
Yeah, I'm a
avocado.
huge fan of avocados. Yep.
Yeah. And then, gosh, what else would I say? Those are kind of like the basics. But sounds so weird, but if I could make this, and this is cheating because there's a lot of properties in my massive salads, but I love making like a really good salad with all the
Mm.
olives and all the nuts and
Oh
seeds.
yeah.
So I would probably have that with me too.
I'm with you on that. My wife makes this incredible Greek salad
Oh, so good.
that we'll either put, feta cheese in it, or there's like a coconut cheese that we'll use. It's like a
Oh
dairy
yeah.
alternative, but olives, onions, cucumbers. It's got like a vinegar type dressing to it. So good.
Yeah, like if you make a salad right, you will never go back.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. No, that's awesome. What supplements do you take? What are your top? I know you're into biohacking your body. So what are your top supplements that you like to use?
I actually like to keep things quite simple.
Mhm.
I think even in the biohacking world, we can get quite complicated when it's like nature actually has all those things. If you just would get out in nature instead of trying to
Yeah.
create a machine to do what nature already does. But that's like when I was keynoting at Dave Asprey's event, I just wanted to say that. I just wanted to be like, I know we like all the machines and all the devices to track our sleep, but if you just get out and play in nature, you'll be 10 times better. But so I keep it quite simple, and it's actually under our Earth Echo brand, and that's why I created them, because this is the only
Hmm.
thing I take is turmeric and ginger.
Hmm.
So I take an extra turmeric and ginger because there's only a little bit of turmeric in the Cacao Bliss, and
Yeah.
turmeric and ginger together are just so potent for immunity and inflammation in the system and helping clear out mucus and all that for your body. So I take that and a probiotic.
Yeah.
I keep it quite simple. And then when I in my smoothies, I always add like chlorophyll
Right.
and what's that plankton? Well, I'm trying to think of the brand.
Plankton or
It's Ocean's Alive.
Ocean's Alive. Yep.
Yep. So I'll add that in, but
Marine
that's all I
phytoplankton.
do.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
real good stuff. Ian Clark. Yeah. Ocean's Lab. We've had him on before.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds like some great stuff. And then you're getting your vitamin D from the sun.
Yep.
You're getting regular sun exposure, get that vitamin D. How about in the
Yep.
wintertime? Because I know you're in Colorado. Do you guys travel during the winter to like a sunny spot?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm all about the traveling. People have asked me, so during these times, are you still traveling? I'm like, nothing's going to stop me from traveling. I will figure it out. So yes, I will definitely in the winter we do. We kind of are a little crazy. Like we live where it's secluded. So I'll go out even in the winter when it's and get naked in the sun
Yeah, that's the
because
best way to
one,
get
the cold
vitamin
is
D.
good for you.
Yeah, that's true.
And two, the sun here, it's super sunny in Colorado,
Mhm.
and I'm going to get sun regardless. So it's just,
That's
I
true. And
really
you're
value the
closer
sun.
to the sun too. So you're going to actually get a little bit more vitamin D stimulation
Mhm.
just because of the altitude there too.
Yeah, thinking of sun, something I just want to jam with you quickly about is
Yeah.
I don't think people recognize how powerful the sun is and
Mm.
how powerful really harnessing and connecting what the sun is to your ultimate health. Obviously, we know about the power of vitamin D, but I'm like wondering if people really understand like 10, 20 minutes out in the sun. And even I do like some sun gazing in the morning,
Yeah.
right when it's starting to come up, and you can do it right when it's starting to just drop right below. There's so much power in it. And I really feel like it's this untapped science that we're still not really talking about that could be really beneficial for everyone. Some sun gazing, and then also
Yes.
letting your skin hit the sun or the
For
sun.
sure. I don't know if you're familiar with Sayer G. He's a friend of mine. He runs a website
Yeah.
called Green Med Info, and he wrote a book best-selling book called Regenerate. And we had him on the podcast, and he talked about how humans are actually helicotropic. We think about autotrophic, like plants are autotropic. They're producing all their energy on their own. And that humans are heterotropic, meaning we would need to eat food. But he actually says we're actually helicotropic in the sense that, or we're heterohelicotropic. He uses some sort of a term like that, where we can produce energy similar to a plant if we have chlorophyll, like you were talking about, using spirulina, things like that. And then it's charged by the sun. We're taking in the biophotons from the sun. It's actually been shown to help stimulate mitochondrial energy production. So really, really fascinating stuff. You probably appreciate that. Regenerate. It's a great book.
I wrote it down because I do feel that there's an element that we could all harness. The sun's absolutely free for our ultimate healing.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, getting really good quality sun exposure on a regular basis. It's really unfortunate that we vilified the sun. We need healthy sun exposure, but getting regular exposure is important. And I know you like to get up and watch the sun rise. There's like an ancient proverb that says, if you want to have energy throughout the day, watch the sunrise. And if you want to sleep well, watch the sunset.
Yes, that's so I love that proverb. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Well, we're wrapping up here, but any last words of wisdom and inspiration for people?
I guess for me, it's just the biggest mission that I feel I'm on for myself and for others is to remind us of how powerful we actually are and how powerful and dynamic our bodies are in truly healing. And not just because of the foods we eat or if we move our body, and not even just because we're watching the sun, but really watching the thoughts that we're thinking and the stories we're telling ourselves and the love we're giving ourselves. And that combination is such potent medicine for whatever anyone is going through. And I just want to remind myself and others that we are magnificent, truly magnificent, and more powerful than we can even fathom.
Well, I love that. Danette, this has been a wonderful interview. You guys can check her out, DanetteMay.com, and we'll have links for everything and a special discount coupon too for the Cacao Bliss that you'll definitely want to try. And so check out Danette, follow her on social media, check out her great book, The Rise. I know you guys will get a lot out of that. And remember, you're more powerful and more important than you think you are. So go out and start taking action today. Be blessed, everybody.